Tansei peeps. My name is Justin Barley or Shrek. My pronouns are it, he, him, it, its, and normal. I'm here introducing the first panel this afternoon, Impacts of Biases Across the Sectors, with Santana, Nicole, and Megan. Santana DeBray, she, her, is a proud Local 10 member, student, twin, daughter, sister, and auntie, and friend. Santana is a highly impressive and engaging student dedicated to public speaking. Her studies are the Bachelor's of Education degree through the SUNTEP program, currently in the second year. Additionally, Santana is actively involved in the Student Council and Culture Committee within her school. She has displayed her talents for leadership through these roles. Outside of her academic pursuits, she enjoys playing sports and spending time with her stepchildren. She is actively involved in the community and strives to give youth opportunities for self-growth. Santana is a highly committed and socially aware student who is keen on creating a positive impact on the world. Through the Indigenous worldview, all is guided. Nicole Connolly, a proud two-spirit and Nicole Connolly is a proud two-spirit and was born and raised in Prince Albert. Woo! Nicole brings 15 years of experience in the nonprofit sector, dedicating her efforts to assisting vulnerable youth in group living. Her passion lies in supporting and motivating adults to support youth in need and collaborating with the Indigenous queer community to dismantle barriers and biases, fostering a collective movement towards support and understanding. There you are. And last but certainly not least, Megan Nolan, she, they, is a member of the Métis community, identifies as two-spirit, and lives in Treaty 6 territory. Currently in her third year of Indigenous social work at the First Nations University of Prince Albert, Megan balances her academic commitments with her role as a dedicated parent to 4 children. Megan actively engages with her culture through drumming, singing, and beading. A strong advocate, she is devoted to creating safe environments for the 2S LGBTQIA+ youth. Megan is also a member of the Post-Secondary Advisory Council for the Government of Saskatchewan, where her valuable insights inform the development of future policies and programs in the post-secondary education sector. In a world that sometimes feels too serious, Megan is a reminder that the fight for justice can be infused with joy. She's not just living a life. She's beating it, drumming it, singing it, and most importantly, laughing through it. Now give it up for our panelists! Woo!
Hello, everybody. My name is Santana DeBray, and my pronouns are she, her, and I see myself as two-spirit. I'm a proud Local 10 member of the Duck Lake area, and I'm currently a student in the SUNTEP program here in Prince Albert. My studies are the Bachelor of Education degree, and I'm currently in my second year. Throughout this year, I've gotten the opportunity to lead our student council as president, be a part of the culture committee, and also help with organizing and being master of ceremonies for our community's leadership symposium. I'm a twin to a sister, Savannah, who is also two-spirit. I'm a sister to 4 other siblings, an auntie to 5, and a friend. I enjoy spending my time with my family, my stepson, Riker, who is 5, and my daughter, Scarlett, who is 7, and also my partner, Renee. Outside of my academic pursuits, I enjoy playing sports like volleyball, soccer, and of course, basketball and slow pitch. My interests have always been actively involved in the community, helping with Michif programs through locals here in the city, and also my previous employment at the Indian and Métis Friendship Center, where I worked with youth over the summer. My strive is to give youth opportunities for self-growth, but also a safe place for them to be themselves and who they are. Through my experience, I spent most of my educational journey hoping nobody would bring up my sexuality. At a young age, my twin and I had super long, curly, thick hair, It was reached down to past our bottoms. My mom would spend hours braiding. My foster sister would cornrow our hairs. It was a long process, but turning 12, we were able to donate our hair. My decision was a no-brainer. Cutting it is all I thought about. And this is when I finally really felt myself. I spent the next part of myself finding my style. And if you knew me back then, you would know my style was very outrageous. Vibrant colors, layers on layers. And at that point, I was growing an afro. So with that, then I eventually started presenting more masculine, and my growth was also a huge factor. Next, I started playing sports. With my main focus on basketball, I really started to be scared of who I was. My school division was and still is within a district that runs deep, that racism runs deep within their towns. So not only did I not want them questioning my sexuality, I was also hiding the color of my skin. I'll never forget the occurrences that happened through sports. Once I was in a town here in Saskatchewan where we would drive with our team, 15-passenger van with families and our parents following. We started the game, I won the tip-off, my sister scored first basket, and as the scoreboard started to climb, the crowd got louder. At free throws, they would yell, "That's a boy," or "Who let boys play with girls?" Stuff like that. At halftime, a father from the opposing team jumped down from the stage, passing by our bench, yells at me and my sister, "You're not welcome here. You should not be playing." By this time, my mom was off the stage. She was on her way to our bench as he continued and made his way to the referees and score table, demanding them that me and my sister prove our sexuality. As my coach, my mom, this man, and the referees argued over this matter, the opposing team started to mock us and chanting for us to be ejected from the game. In the end, my coach decided to forfeit the game, taking the scoreboard as it is and not finishing the game. We've never played in that town again. My coach and school staff at Stobart High School have always been supportive, but have never questioned or asked me, and I still had fear that they would. My worry was that if they asked me, would I know what I'd say? Do I know who I am? Or what do I say when they ask? And I say this because it wasn't until I was with my partner, so 5 years ago, that my pronouns have meaning, and who I identify as has meaning, like two-spirit. The Creator gifted me with these abilities, as well as my physical vessel. My physical vessel that can endure male skills, being able to provide, use my strength and my size, but I was also born female, to teach, to nurture, and raise children. So it speaks for my career choice and where it has led me. After graduating, I got a job at the daycare in town. I helped coach my high school basketball team, which satisfied my urge to teach. And after a year, I achieved my early childhood education certificate. When I moved to Prince Albert in 2019, I started at Woodland Taker until COVID struck, leaving me without employment. After that, I landed a teaching position at the Aboriginal Head Start, and this is where my true passion for youth, culture, and most importantly, teaching began. My first year at Suntep felt very strange. I say this because I wasn't sure how anyone from my cohort was going to approach me, or what I wanted them to know about me either. We started with a class trip to Batoche, and that's where one of my classmates first met up with me in the bathroom. She questioned the bathroom. She was wondering if I got it wrong or if she did. Right from there, it was a very awkward situation from the start. From that point, I was so scared to be there. Throughout the year, we had lots of sorts of different topics and presentations on the topic of LGBTQ2+, that felt very targeting at the time. But thankfully, the faculty at Suntep gave me a better understanding of what it looks like through faculty and administration, and not just as a student. There's a survey of high school students that found 64% of LGBTQ2+ students report feeling not safe at school. But similar research shows that LGBTQ2+ teachers are less likely to come out to their administrations, and 33% of those have been warned not to come out at school by either family, friends, or educators. In each year of SUNTEP, you go through a placement experience in the schools. Before my placement, these stats ran through my head to a point where my anxiety took over. I didn't know how my partner teacher was going to treat me. I didn't know what the students were going to call me, and I didn't even know if they were going to listen to me. Do they call me Miss, Mr.? What was I comfortable with? Thankfully, I was blessed to be placed in a classroom with Mr. Kevin Sais, who taught me how to be myself within the classroom. We worked together with the students on what they should call me, and we got Teach Debray. The relationships after that were the best experience I've had in classrooms. So as I prepare for my next placement and experience a different age range, I am not as scared or worried about what these students will be or how they will act, because I know that they're just also finding themselves. I think back on my experience. I never wanted anyone to ask about my sexuality, but I had people who supported it. I was allowed to cut my hair, pick my clothes. It was normal for boys and girls to be friends, and it was praised when you played sports. I often think about the students who aren't so lucky to be able to cut or grow their hair, told to wear boy or girl colors, and if they hanged around with girls too much, they were considered fruity, or if they were hanging out with guys, they must like them, or even called worse. School is the biggest social experience in one person's life. The wrong experience can make one scared of the world around them. I want to stress to teachers, parents, and anyone working with youth to provide those safe places for youth to be who they are. Kindergarten teachers often ask students what they want to be when they grow up. Answers like teacher, cop, firefighter, and astronaut are some of the ones that are usually asked upon. We need to teach youth that we want them to be happy, healthy, and who they are with the gifts given to them by Creator. We can only guide them. Many LGBTQ2+ people can recall moments in their young lives when they knew they might be different, and it's not until adolescence or adulthood that they really find themselves. So my question is, why should it take that long? If we're allowing them to express themselves young, they'll be able to love themselves longer. This, I think, would eliminate most of the mental health aspect of being LGBTQ. The anxiety and depression that can lead to suicide is the main killer of our youth today. So some ways you can help in our classroom is banning the use of gay or words in that nature in a negative way. Supportive teachers having designed teachers to be able to contact. And some schools now have GSAs, gay-straight alliances, that allow them to be united within a group or belong. Having gender-neutral bathrooms, because public bathrooms still and are some fears of members today. The awkwardness, arguments, and ugly looks that you endure can be traumatizing. But also being diverse through the curriculum, holidays, and knowing your students' families. Teachers are teaching what is seen in society and talking about it. We have students, when asked, who's in your household, they would say 2 dads, 2 moms, grandma, etc. Topics need to be discussed in both schools and with family. My approach is that I'm going to make sure that every student has what they need to feel safe, and if that means that queer, trans, and non-binary students feel like they're getting information that they need often because they receive information that is heteronormative and cisnormative lenses. So the LGBTQ2+ education is not only sexual interactions, but the education should be diverse, not only for members, but for every human being for the better understanding. This in hopes will reduce stereotypes and biases made through discrimination and ignorance. Allowing students to be who they are as they grow will help them be comfortable using their gifts. We as teachers need to nurture and guide each student, but also help them find these gifts. We need to allow students to express themselves, find out who they are, and teach self-love. There is no more room for hate. We need to teach kindness. Thank you all for listening to my take on LGBTQ and education.
Hi, my name is Nicole, and I am here in hopes to bring awareness and share some experiences of mine working within the nonprofit sector field. I'm hoping folks can learn to identify their own biases, work together in unity to set those aside, and learn a new way of seeing one another in an effort to support the people you serve. I've been working in the nonprofit sector field for 15 years, 10 of which as a group living manager in a treatment facility. I'm a proud, two-spirited individual and the mother of a 7-year-old daughter until she tells me otherwise. While my education is in the criminal justice field, and I did start off working in that field, I quickly found out that my passion was working with youth, as well as teaching and supporting adults who work with vulnerable youth. I work with some of the most at-risk youth within our country, the majority being within Saskatchewan. To bring this into perspective, the Indigenous population within Saskatchewan is roughly 10%. However, Indigenous children and youth make up 86% of the population of children in care. This number is staggeringly high. Currently, there is no statistics on the percentage of Indigenous queer kids in care. Since working in this field, for 15 years, I've worked with approximately 500 youth, and I can state with confidence that there is a high majority of queer kids, Indigenous kids in care that are left feeling alone with no one safe to turn to. Most of the youth I work with range from the ages of 10 to 16, and of this group of kids, they've experienced a massive amount of physical, emotional, and sexual abuse, witness to domestic violence, and extreme victims of intergenerational trauma due to colonization in residential schools. When kids come into my home, they are extremely scared, vulnerable, and worried about a variety of things. This is a very overwhelming day for everyone involved, most importantly, the youth. When I sit down, I talk with them, and the first thing I do is I tell them my name and my preferred pronouns, and I ask them what are their preferred pronouns. When I bring up this topic, it gives them a sense of safety in expressing who they are and become more comfortable living and thriving in their authentic self. This small question that I ask immediately lets the person know sitting across from me that I have taken the time to just ask one simple question. What are your preferred pronouns? If I were to say to any person who is a social worker or a health support person or anyone that is supporting a youth in care or otherwise, this one simple question is something you can start with. This will open up a safe relationship and dialogue between you and the youth you are working with. I feel it's extremely important, no matter where you personally sit in this area, as I know some people are very passionate about how they feel in regards to pronouns and sexual and gender identity. But those thoughts and feelings need to be set aside in order to give the best care possible to the children and youth that you serve. I've had so many positive experiences, and some not so positive ones as well, while helping advocate for youth in my care. For example, I had a particular youth who felt they were not quite ready to leave treatment, but more importantly, did not feel safe returning to their community. This youth was suddenly removed from the facility and placed in another home within their community. This community had the best of intentions and the best they could given the circumstances for all the kids in their care. This particular youth had an amazing social worker who advocated to the best of their ability for this young person. But a decision was made that it was best for the kids within their community that were in care to be brought back home. I don't disagree with this. I completely support all communities that want to bring their children back home, 100%. They are wonderful human beings doing the best they can for people that they serve. In this particular circumstance, I advocated for the youth to stay within my home for a multitude of reasons, but specifically because this young person identified as gay. She expressed to me over the years that she was terrified to return to her family and community because of the biases and discrimination she had seen growing up. I truly believe bringing youth back to their family and community is of the utmost importance and the thing that I strive for all kids within my care. This particular youth was not comfortable returning home because she identified as gay, and after 45 days of leaving at the age of 14, she took her own life. This is not to say that anyone is to blame for that specific circumstance. What I want to bring to people's attention is that if you are somebody who works as a social worker or a health professional, it is important to be aware of how sexual and gender identity affect young people today and how it contributes to the way they see and perceive themselves, as well as how they feel people perceive them. Kids in care are already at high risk for a variety of reasons, and if we can just put our own personal biases aside as best we can and do our own research to make ourselves more aware, I believe together we can save lives. This is just one story of many. Having said that, there is also positive ones. On another note, a youth in my care who identified as transgender and was wanting support in her transition. And her social worker was extremely open to engaging in conversations about sexual and gender identity. The clinicians within our facility began an amazing positive journey with this young person and her worker, and they were able to work together to advocate on behalf of this young person and provide counseling and health services to connect him with a doctor that supports transgender youth. This particular youth was able to access all the help they needed, but most important to them, in their words, was having open-minded people to support them in their transition. She was able to get help with puberty blockers, and this set them on a path to finally feeling comfortable in their own body. These things that we do to help young people are instrumental in their survival and getting them to a point where they feel safe, accepted, and loved. The statistics for trans and queer kids for suicide rates are very high, the highest of any person within Saskatchewan in that age range. I feel that we are very behind the mark in achieving support for all kids and adults that identify as 2S LGBTQIA+. When I think about kids and youth, whether they're in care or not, I think about those that are 2S LGBTQIA+, and how vulnerable they are. Even something as simple as learning an acronym and saying it, holding space for everyone, it helps all people feel seen. Given that the suicide rate of these individuals is extremely high, and the change in laws within Saskatchewan has put youth at an even greater risk for those that identify in this category. This is not okay. They are expected to put on a brave face, follow the extreme conservative religious lifestyles that have been thriving in Saskatchewan. This has put these children, youth, and adults in a very precarious position. And like I said, it is not okay. It is a violation of their human rights, and the people who work within the health profession and social services field need to acknowledge this and act accordingly. I know many social workers and many teachers that are on the front lines picketing and protesting, supporting the extreme violation of human rights of the 2S LGBTQI+ community, specifically children and youth. I believe that all of us want the best for everyone. I believe that it is important for us to just be kind. When I say just be kind, it is likely one of the easiest things a person can do for another. We do not know what other people are facing or thinking and feeling in their everyday lives. If we could just lean into the hard conversations and support our young people, we'll find that kindness is the way through all of this. If we put our personal biases and discriminations aside and get close to the people that we serve, we'll find that people are hard to hate close up. This is not to say that I think people who are serving kids in care or otherwise hate people, because I don't. In fact, I know they don't. But if we use proximity and get closer with one another and we lean into those hard conversations, you'll find that kindness serves all. It is important to know that kindness and acceptance of all is the way through the topic we are discussing today. I would further state that this way of life will serve you in all areas of life, whether work, family, friends, or otherwise. Please lean into the conversations that make you feel uncomfortable. In fact, I would say get comfortable being uncomfortable, and look people in the eyes and let them know that you're there for them and that you're here to support them no matter what you think or feel, because it's not about you. It's about the people that you serve. When you put your best self forward while putting your own biases aside and serve people with kindness, you will find that the kids you serve will thrive and everyone will feel seen and heard. And I think this is the one thing we are all wanting to know. Do we matter? Do we feel seen? On a more personal note, I've had to work on my own biases that I formed with regard to other people and their biases. I was married to a woman for 12 years, and in that time, we had a child. We used a donor that was extremely cooperative and gave us the gift of having a child we had always wanted. I was not the birth parent, my wife was. And while I've been out and proud as a queer person for over 25 years, I consider myself very lucky and supported. I have never experienced any discrimination towards me in my personal life or professional life, and if people felt they didn't agree with who I was or my lifestyle, they didn't express it to me. I'm extremely lucky in that way. My daughter is status, as the government says. She's been given a status number, but still needed to be registered with her band. Once given a status number, you have to ask chief and council of that band you're from to accept you as a registered band member. When it came to do this, my wife at the time asked me if I would call and talk to them about that protocol and set that up. At first, I was like, yes, immediately. And as quickly as the word yes came out, I immediately thought to myself, wait, I'm not the birth parent. And if I call and they start asking questions and they find out the child, my child, I am asking to be accepted and recognized by their band, find out that I'm not the biological parent, and then in turn find out that my child has two mothers, will they accept her? I became extremely worried that they may have their own biases and they may discriminate against my daughter because she has two moms. That's not to say that they would, as it was my bias that they would not accept her. But in that moment, for the first time in my life since coming out at 21, I felt scared and worried that my child would be discriminated against for having two moms. I then thought it was best that my ex-wife call and not bring me up at all and fear that my daughter would be discriminated against. This feeling was overwhelming. I was scared, worried, and shocked, and for once, at a loss for words. And if you know me, that's quite a rare occurrence. Having said that, I am 46 years old, and I have now found myself in a position that I haven't found myself in previously. I was able to take a step back and realize that people do have their own biases and discrimination, and they're not for me to own. They're definitely not for my child to have to experience, but what's important here is for me to believe that everybody is doing the best that they can. Do I know they're doing the best that they can? I have no idea, and that's really not what the point is. If I believe that everybody is doing the best that they can with the information they have, I feel better. Now that, my friends, for all of you that are here, is a big takeaway. I hope that you decide to look at life that way. We are quick to think people aren't doing the best they can, whether they are or they aren't. Like I said, is not important. What is important is if you believe that they are, you will feel better. And if you feel better, that will spread out to those you work with, those that you serve, and the people you come into contact with. With that and kindness, it will see us through and bridge the gap that we have with Indigenous queer individuals and bring us all closer together in unity with all of our diversiveness. If we can do that, we will move forward in a more positive, inclusive environment for all. If I could leave you with one last thing, it would be this. Do your work. Take the time to recognize your biases and ask yourself this question. Are my biases presenting in the way I do my job and the profession I have chosen? And if so, how can I change that way of thinking and accept everyone for who they are? After all, as Ram Dass once said, we're all just here walking each other home. Thank you.
These ones all prepared with scripts, and I got jot notes. That's how I roll. Huh? Okay, so Nicole mentioned something about difficult conversations we need to have. This is one of mine, but there's people here that I don't know today who I want to reach out to about it. And then the people that are here that know me know what I've experienced, and hopefully I can get through this decently. So my name is Megan Nolan. I am Métis. I am Two-Spirit, and I am the mother of 4 small children, ages 4, 8, 11, and 12. I have 2 boys and 2 girls, and they did not come to me through the biological way. They came through, they're actually my niece's children who came to me, and I'm now their legal parent. My youngest was a month old when he came to live with me, so I've had them for 4 years now, I think it is, and I will be their parent until the end of time. I am a social work student at the First Nations University here in Prince Albert. I am an advocate for the 2S LGBTQIA youth in our community and abroad. And I am a victim of interpersonal or intimate partner violence. So most people, when they look at me, they see big person, can handle themselves, and most times I could. However, I was in a relationship for 7 years. I was with her, and it was very abusive throughout it. And then when the kids came to live with me, I had hoped, oh, we have kids, she won't act like that. It'll change for the better, it'll get better in that sense. And no, the abuse just went on to my children as well. So here I am as a person who had taken on that role of keeping children safe and out of systems like the Ministry of Social Services, keeping my family and my bloodline out of the Ministry of Social Services. and I'm not keeping them safe, is how I felt. When I had moved here, I had no friends. I had no community. I just got in my car and left because I had to leave the toxicity of my own family and start over. So for the first few years in this relationship, I was alone through this abuse, and I just worked and went home to it every night. A few years into my life here, I was able to make connections with really good friends of mine who were part of the community and were part of Indigenous culture, something that I had never been raised with. In these spaces, I was able to find ceremony, friendship, kin, and love. And as I started to feel safe, I started to open up to certain people. Two of my best friends are Alex and Lisa, and I can't imagine how hard it was for them to keep their mouth shut, even though there were times they wanted to say, "Megan, give your head a shake." But they supported me through it all. One night, my partner attacked me in my house in front of my children, and I had to get my kids to run to the room. I called Alex and I said, "I need help." She was there in 10 minutes, not even. I finally got the courage to call the RCMP in Prince Albert. Now, what I need to explain is why I hadn't done that, because people are probably, "Why didn't you call?" Yes, I'm white passing, but I'm also Indigenous. And what is ingrained in me is fear of systems, fear of social workers, fear of the police. The color of my skin doesn't take away my indigeneity. So I'm at this store in the corner with all my children crying, my friends trying to calm us all down. And I got brave enough to call the RCMP. My friends took my kids home so they didn't have to see the cops show up. Cops came. One look at me. Well, the masculine one must be the aggressor. The butchy one must be the aggressor. How can this 5'2" little woman cause any damage? My partner had a ripped shirt. Her shirt was ripped from me trying to get her away from my children and out of my suite. They didn't stop to look at the earrings ripped out of my head, the blood on my ears, the punch marks on my face. They looked at me, said, "We don't really care. She lives in the basement suite," which is her other way of controlling me, right? Wouldn't move out of the house. "You live upstairs, that's a rental issue." And left. So, yeah, she rents the basement suite. So all I could do is put on locks on my door, little hooks. I'm in school and I have a baby monitor and I'm in Cree class. And I'm trying to focus on my Cree class, and who kicks in my door? My ex-partner, because she's trying to get stuff out of my house. Call the RCMP, "Hey, please get her out of my house. She's not supposed to be in my suite." The female RCMP officer that I had dealt with that night was on shift again. And what she told me is, if I don't grow up and stop calling with this bullshit, she's gonna make a report on me for false reports and charge me. So I was already scared of systems. Now you just took away any safety I thought I might have had with you as a police officer, the people I'm supposed to call. So that shut that down real quick. I'm not a suicidal person. Never really had been. I mean, teenagers, we get sad, we have those ideations and things pass. But I was, for the first time in my life, scared of myself to keep myself safe. I thought, well, if I give the kids up to the system ministry, they'll be safe. But how can I live with myself putting my own family in the foster system? I can't do that. Okay, well, how other way can I keep them safe? Or how do I not deal with this? Okay, well, if I die, I don't need to know what's happening. And maybe that's the best way to save them. So I'm fixating, and this isn't me, and I'm fixating. I have a garage, I'm the only one with the key. The windows are painted, no one can see in. I can hang myself, and no one will be able to find me for a bit. And this wasn't that long ago, this was my fixation. Went to see my two friends, Alex and Lisa, who know me probably better than I know myself most days. And just talking, and Alex said, "Megan, do you want to kill yourself?" When those words came out of her mouth and I said yes, I could breathe. I just needed to say it, and it was gone. Because I can't kill myself. I got too much stuff to do. I love my kids too much. But it helped, just talking, just having that support. I don't have it. I didn't have it. And I definitely don't have it with the systems. I've tried to talk to the ministry. They've threatened me. You know, they put fear in you. Police put fear in you. Moving on, hopefully I'm not talking too much. November, again, cannot get rid of this person who I've not been with for 2 years. So November 2nd of 2023, she was at my house and decided to attack me again and my children. Actually, sorry, she tried to attack my child first. So I got my kids to the room, got them away. I'm trying to keep it calm. I can't get on my phone because if I do, what is she gonna do to me? What's she gonna do to my kids? Yes, I can hurt her, but I know that's what she wants. She wants me to hit and hurt because I'm the bigger one. I'm the one who's gonna come across as the bad guy, right? That bias has already been proven to me a few months ago. So all I could do while being punched in the face, having my glasses ripped off my face and broken in half, spit on, kicked, all my furniture destroyed, hearing my children screaming in the bedroom, my dog shaking on the floor. All I can do is slowly text my sister from another province, please text police and have them come to my house. So during this time, as I'm trying to keep her calm and away from my kids, see the light, a little while come up. Thank God. So, you know, as soon as the police rolled up, she went to go for the knives. I had to block her from the knives, but I'm trying to do it in a way that people aren't seeing. I don't know if she's grabbing the knife for herself, for me, for my children, or the police. I don't know her plans. She was crazy. Finally, the police come in. The one officer just takes me gently by the arm, leads me down my hall. They're trying to talk to her. She went at the cops, fight in my kitchen, was arrested in my house. One female officer stayed with me the whole time. I'm bawling, I'm terrified because now everyone knows. And who's coming next? Social services. The only thing I could think of is my babies are being taken away because I am in a home with an abuser and I can't keep them safe. And this is all my fault. That officer said, no, this is not your fault. No one's taking your babies. They just need to come make sure you're all okay, and mobile has to check in. So mobile crisis showed up at my home. We sat, we talked. I said the same thing, please don't take my babies. We're not taking your babies. I said, but that's what I know. That's what I know in my childhood. That's what I know with my own kids. They said, no, this isn't you doing this. This was her. All I had to do was a case plan. I pressed charges with this officer who talked to me. And that's all I needed. I just needed an officer to sit with me and a social worker to say, I'm not taking your babies. That person has now got no conditions to talk to me, has charges against her, and I'm free. I didn't go back. Me and my children haven't been that long away from her, but we're very much in our healing journey. So much happier we are, so much freer. I love it. But I guess what I wanted to get a point across today to everyone here is that if you are part of those systems, the police, the RCMP, the health, the school, check your biases. We always have to do it. Realize it's not always the big bad one that's probably the bad one. Or realize that as Indigenous people, we have extra fears ingrained into our DNA from what has happened in our histories. But sometimes we just need a little reassurance. We're not taking your babies. You know, we're not doing this, we're not doing that. Because as soon as I had the proper help and care, I've been able to stay away. It wasn't about me not being able to leave my abuser. It was about needing those supports. One thing I did when I was doing this panel is I was really looking up Two-Spirit stats, trying to find it. There's not a lot, and really there's nothing on Two-Spirit. You know, it's been said how Indigenous queer people are even higher than Indigenous people of suicide, and Indigenous are usually the highest numbers committing suicide. So then you add that, being Indigenous and queer, we're even above that. But there's no real research on Two-Spirit people. There's many reasons for that I don't have time to get into. But one thing I would like to see is more on it. but not led by people who aren't Indigenous, by people who aren't Two-Spirit. Research has to be led by those people with allies at our side. Sorry, I'm just trying to keep with my jot notes. There needs to be more community supports. I know people think, oh, you're queer, you're part of the queer community. No. Being Indigenous, you're not always part of the queer community either, because there's biases in that and racism in that too. So even when we're kicked out of our communities of our families, we try to join in queer communities and we're always not accepted there. So now you're away from your home that you know, and you're again not accepted. So I'd like to see that within our queer communities get fixed too. Sorry, I'm just trying to stay with this here. I guess the biggest thing is just like, if you work for those systems, just remember like to be there for the people, and we need to see more Two-Spirit led spaces. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
Thank you so much, the three of you, for everything that you guys shared. That was incredible. I didn't know if I'd get up here. I was just crying. I'm just so proud of all of you. Do we have any questions for our panel? If you do, just put it on the question slip and we can bring it up here. But while we're waiting, I'd love if you guys could each talk just briefly on if there was one thing that someone who's either an ally, who wants to become an ally here today, could take away from the symposium. What do you really want them to carry forward in their work? Yeah, go ahead, Nicole.
I think for me, when I'm working with youth, and I work with a lot of people, I see some familiar faces here. Like I said in my talk, please do your work. It's not up to the queer community to explain to you about all of the things that we think you should know. I think it's important that you do that research. You find out, what are your biases? Do they show up in the work that you do? Are they presenting in the way that you interact with people? And if they are, I would work on that. I would find out, why is it that way? Why do you think that way? How has it come to be in your life? It's probably something you've always learned. So something you have to spend time unlearning. It takes as much time, or if not more, to unlearn what you've been taught and find out a way to be supportive as you can to all the people that you serve. If you work in any of those sectors that I brought up, or Megan or Santana brought up, because that is where our youth are. That is where some of them are the most vulnerable, specifically right now within the education system and the change of laws. And a lot of social workers are guardians of children in care, mostly because a lot of our Indigenous kids and queer kids in care don't have parents. They have not won the war of colonization. They have unfortunately passed on. So it is important for people that are caring for those queer kids or Indigenous kids to do your work, find it out, and support them at the best you can.
I think just for me is, I can understand how people are scared to wrong or do something wrong. Yeah, do research, but I'm also like a person that is like, if you ask a question respectfully, I'm gonna teach you, because it's not our job, like Nicole said, to teach you everything, but I'm gonna teach you as best I can. And whenever you're doing something in a good way, it's never wrong. So you're coming at this with a good heart and good intentions. People aren't stupid, they're gonna see that, right? And we're gonna know, like, hey, and you're gonna get hopefully met with positive vibes. That's all I gotta say for that answer.
Thank you.
Seeing youth, play and interact, that's what youth are supposed to do. They're supposed to play, they're supposed to have fun, they're supposed to express themselves. So I just want to say, like, when you're seeing, say, little boys playing dress up and wearing dresses and, you know, playing with other things, dolls and stuff like that. Don't be worried. Don't be alarmed. Don't question them. Just let them express themselves. Let them be who they are. It might not stick. It might, and just support them. Be that support and allow them to be who they are and play how they want to play. Let them have fun. Let them be themselves.
All right, well, thank you all so much for everything that you've shared. Before you head off the stage, we've got a few gifts for you guys. So with that, we're gonna take a 15-minute break, and we'll be resuming with our next panel, which is a real treat. All those beautiful humans who drummed for you, that's who's on our next panel. So go and do your thing, and we'll see you back in 15 minutes.